The theme of this conference, driving effective education reforms through leadership, accountability, and collaboration, captures the core principles guiding our work and the engagements we are going to have in this conference. It speaks to the responsibility we all share to ensure that education reforms are not only well designed, but also effectively implemented and sustained across all levels and all systems. A working education system demands continuous and vigorous evaluation and review to align it with aspirations behind its introduction. This forum is therefore ideal, as it offers an opportunity for candid reflections on the state of our education. It is also an opportunity to assess our successes and reset our priorities. And congratulations to Arsiri and your team for putting this forum together. I know this is the second forum. The first forum, I wasn't able to attend. But on being briefed on the engagements in the first forum, I made the decision that I will be coming to this forum every year because of the significance and the importance of not just education, but the need for us to collaborate, harness ideas, correct where there are wrongs, and streamline the whole education program because, as I have said, it is the single most important investment any society, community, or nation can invest in. And that is the reason why close to 30% of our national budget is spent on education, not as a cost, but as an investment. It is the reason why we have progressively enhanced the budget in this sector from approximately 500 billion in 2022 to 702 billion in this financial year and 767 billion in the coming financial year. We don't treat the investment and the resources we are putting in education as a cost to us. It is an investment we are making in our present and in our future. And that is why the theme of this conference, leadership, accountability, which comes with integrity, and also collaboration, is a very apt theme that brings us together to realize that reform requires bold leadership because entrenched cultures don't give way easily. So we have to be courageous and bold to be able to implement the reforms that will align our education with the needs of the present and with the aspirations of the future. Accountability becomes a very central part of delivering on education because the resources we are allocating, the public taxes that we allocate to education, 700 billion shillings is a lot of money. And integrity must be front and center in us delivering on education and making sure that we can account to the Kenyan public on the resources we are spending in education. I have been in this space for a while, both as a member of parliament and subsequently as a minister for higher education. And I know full well how important and how impactful delivery on education can be to not just our learners, but to our society in general. Progressively, we have seen what technology has done. I will give you an example. We had very big difficulties with agriculture. We decided that we are going to digitize all our farmers. We are going to collect data on all our farmers. We had tried it before for a very long time, almost 10, 15 years. We only registered 300,000 farmers. But we did a national exercise, rolled out a whole of government approach. Today, we have 7.2 million registered farmers. We know how many sugarcane farmers, how many coffee farmers, how many tea farmers, how many growers of wheat, how many growers of maize. Today, for you to buy fertilizer, you have to bring a digital voucher because we allocate every farmer, because we know farmer X has 5 acres. He cannot come and claim fertilizer for 20 acres because he doesn't have 20 acres. So the system automatically knows and allocates fertilizer on account of the acreage of farmers. We have dealt with huge cartels that were big problems to us because we digitized data. I want to encourage stakeholders, from our teachers to boards to parents, for all of us to agree to a digitization process so that it makes it easy for us to deploy all the resources we are deploying, whether it is capitation, whether it is bursaries, and everything in between. Leadership must be exercised at every level of our education system with a clear focus on delivery and on results. Accountability must guide the utilization of resources and the implementation of programs, ensuring that every investment translates into improved learning outcomes. Collaboration must bring together government, educators, communities, and partners in a shared effort to transform education. And that is why this forum is very significant and very consequential. It brings all of us together so that we can listen to one another, sample the ideas that we have, improve on what is not working, change what is not working, improve on what is working, and tap into better ideas on how to take this forward. We all agree that this is a space that is evolving because society is evolving. There were courses that were not part of us a few years ago that now must be central to how we move forward. And therefore, we cannot afford to stay static when the needs of society, when the needs of industry are changing. That's why this collaboration, the coming together of stakeholders, sponsors of schools, whether religious organizations or private sector organizations, the public schools, and everybody in between must be part of this conversation. And we must admit that we allow ourselves for a good idea to give way to a better one so that we can improve the space around learning in our society. I have also stated that as we go forward, we are going to put more resources in science, research, innovation, and technology. Because I strongly believe that no society can grow or develop beyond its capacity to think. And we must allow ourselves to, get the best minds to think for us, to innovate, to research, so that we can improve on the knowledge that we have, we can create new knowledge, and we can use knowledge to drive our development. This conference, therefore, ladies and gentlemen, provides an important opportunity to consolidate the progress we have made, align our efforts, and strengthen the implementation of reforms across the country. It is a platform not for finger pointing, not for accusing one person against another. It is a forum for us to think together and to work together. The common good of education is at the center of this. It is a platform to generate solutions, share experiences, and reaffirm our collective commitment to delivering an education system that works for every learner and for our nation. I am truly proud to be part of this conversation here in Naivasha. Asante sana. I thank you, and I look forward to some more engagement as we go forward. Asanteni sana. The teachers we have hired in the last 3 years, it would take us 20 years if we hired them at the rate at which we were hiring before. But we made this deliberate because we could see the negative effects our learners and our learning and our education was suffering because of lack of teachers. We built more classrooms, as was said by Waziri, 23,000 and counting. We are building also another 1,600 laboratories across Kenya to make sure that no student, as has happened in the past, gets to a laboratory the day they are doing the exam. How sometimes unfortunate it is. And we have reorganized the funding model so that it is student-centered. Through these investments, we are not merely expanding access to education. We are laying the foundation for a more equitable, competitive, and future-ready nation. At the same time, we have continued to invest in teacher development, expand digital learning infrastructure, and align education pathways with national development priorities. I'm very happy that STEM is now a real, program. And I was very happy that, the STEM students are up to 60, you told me? You are at? We are now at 52%, heading towards 60. And then we will keep improving so that we prepare ourselves for the future. We must be armed with a human capital that will take our country to the next level. At the level of higher education, we have undertaken bold reforms to ensure that access is fair, transparent, and sustainable. The new university funding model has shifted the focus from institutions to students, ensuring that financial support is provided based on need through a structured combination of scholarships, loans, and household contribution. This approach is enabling more young Kenyans to access higher education while safeguarding the long-term sustainability of the sector. Equally important is the transformation of technical and vocational training. We have positioned TVET as a critical central pillar of our economic agenda by expanding institutions, strengthening competence-based training, and deepening collaboration with industry. Through these efforts, we are ensuring that young people acquire relevant skills that lead to employment, entrepreneurship, and productivity, thereby directly contributing to national growth. I did inform Migosi and team at the Ministry of Education that technical education, and I had very serious challenges when I was Minister for Higher Education at some point on getting technical education to come to the center of our education and education outcomes. Because there was a notion built over time that the students who go to TVET are the students who are not very good. And that was very wrong. And that is why we have changed the perception. I am very happy that today learners choose where to go on the basis of where they see themselves into the future. And as a result, we have increased the numbers. In 2002, we had close to 300,000 students in our TVET. Today, we are at 800. Our target is to get to 2 million. I know there is a small problem somewhere which I'm sorting on matters to do with the resources available to teach those students. I have since discussed with the PS in that department and the Waziri, and we're going to sort it out. Because we had two challenges. We want to make sure that it is affordable. That is why we worked with the TVET institutions to reduce the fees from close to 100,000 to 67,000. And we have also modularized so that certification becomes more frequent. And you can get in and go out as you get more skills. So that is now working very well with a bit of challenges, but we are sorting it out because we want to make sure that we have more people equipped with technical skills. We've run into some headwinds, for example, with our housing program. We need more plumbers, we need more electricians, we need more people who understand masonry, and we've had to resort to people who have learned on the job. And that is why we have also expanded the certification through recognition of prior learning, so that people who have learned the skill, who have the skill, they have a shorter runway in making sure that they get certification. The success of these reforms depend on the strength of our leadership, the integrity of our systems, and the effectiveness of our collaboration. Why are we here? We are here because education is the single most important investment any society or nation can roll out. It's the single most important investment. The development of our human capital is the single most important to a nation. From the position I sit in as president, if there is one very important thing, is to have an educated, informed society. Number two, we are investing close to 700 billion, 28% of our budget. If education was not important, we wouldn't be investing that amount of money. And number three, we have close to, how many million learners, Waziri? 11 million learners, our children, in this space. And therefore, the coming together of these stakeholders, sponsors of schools, managers of schools, education leaders, government, to bring together our ideas, as I said, to refine what is working, to change what is not working, to improve, and to uptake new ideas is a very central part of the development of education. We've had instances where people take to podia in political rallies, in church meetings, in funerals, in weddings, to say all manner of things about education. This forum here gives us an opportunity not to talk at each other, but to talk together, to talk to each other and find solutions on how we go forward together. So that is why I think this forum is very important and significant.
There's a feeling that sometimes government is speaking to itself, because the reality sometimes in the ground, let's talk about transition of grade 10 learners. You just talk about 99 point something %. But when you look at it, until yesterday, we can still see some learners who are still stuck at home. So do we have mechanisms where the government is actually getting the real data, say from the village elder to the sub-county director, and everybody else, so that we cannot be sitting and maybe just talking to ourselves in this room?
Precisely the point. That's why we have this meeting. We want to know from the stakeholders here. If, for example, we say we have hired 100,000 teachers, can OU here and the good people from Kuppet, can they confirm that that is the case? When we say that we have built learning spaces, is that the case? When we say that we have changed the university funding model, is that the case? Do we need Professor Mugendi and team? Can they confirm to us that that is the case, or are we talking to ourselves? That's the reason why we're here. And I think that is a very progressive way of engaging rather than finger pointing and making statements sometimes that are not verifiable. When we were reforming the Tibet space, we used to have so many failures. You know, a mason fails the exam not because they don't have the masonry skill. It is because they failed English. So we asked ourselves, why are you forcing this mason to pass English when his skill is masonry, you know? So we scaled down the place of English, and we got many more masons passing because they knew how to do, they had the skill of masonry, but they were failing on English, you know? So that is how we managed to reform that space. Let me give you another example. And these are practical examples which we have had to delve into. What Ogamba has said, the 3 different pathways. We have many learners who are gifted differently. There are people who are not gifted on STEM subjects. They are good artists. They are good social scientists. But when you force them into a channel that emphasizes the things they are not good at, that is why, for a very long time, our education system produced too many failures. You know? Because we were failing our learners on areas that they were not good at. so that even the areas they were good at were undermined by the areas they were not good at. That's why having 3 pathways gives all our children equal opportunity to pass on the areas they are good at. And by the way, we need all of them. We need skills in STEM. We need skills in social science. We need skills in art. They complement society. They make us the society that we are. And that is why competence-based learning is the correct thing to go, the correct education system for us. Let me conclude by saying that, and it's good for us to speak, a bit of experience, because we've been in this space for a while, really helps. And I'm sure the teachers who are here will know that. There was a very big focus on passing a single exam. A single exam determined whether you were a failure or you passed. And that is why exams became a life and death issue. That is why exams were so militarized. There were policemen everywhere, intimidating children, making the whole place, tense, and even affecting the outcome of learning itself. That's why competence learning builds on the learning experience and the learning curve of the student. Every stage accounts for the final exam, so that the final exam becomes important, but what you have gone through is equally important. So that is why I am a very strong advocate for competence-based learning.
Your Excellency, I would like to thank you for leading the reforms in higher education and across the whole ecosystem, basic and TVET. You have challenged us, Your Excellency, to think differently, to work differently, so that we can transform the outcomes from the sector. In particular, at the university level, we are working to produce graduates who are more employable graduates with an entrepreneurial spirit. We are working to develop the technologies that will lead us on this road to Singapore. And we already have some very deliberate examples that we will share in due course. Today, the conversation has changed. It is no longer whether the reforms can work. It is about how we can innovate in our different spaces to make this work, to deepen the transformation. And I want to assure you, Your Excellency, that the spirit is collaboration. We are collaborating with private sector across the different sectors of public service, with NGOs and with development partners, and the results will speak for themselves.
The competency-based education is a skill-based system where everything that the student does accounts for something from day one. The assessments start from the classroom work that you do, and it accounts for a percentage, so that by the time you're doing an exam, what you have gotten in the process of learning enables you to progress to the next level. Additionally, it identifies the talents, the skills, the interest of the students, so that we do not always insist on having students take programs or take courses that they are not interested in. That's why we introduce the 3 pathways, so that we have STEM, we have social sciences, and we have creative arts. In that way, there is no student who will miss out, and that's why the transition is high, because now we are able to take each and every student to the next level based on what they are able to do. So it's work in progress. We are now on grade 10. We are moving to grade 12, transition to the universities. And then, as we continue, because the assessment is doing year in, year out, we will evaluate the whole system at the end of the cycle. We're in the middle of the cycle. We've done 10 years currently. And it is the best system that we have. And the best way to determine that, I encourage you, get out there, talk to the students who are learning in this program, the grade 10 students, the grade 9 students, and you will see a distinct difference between them and the ones who have been doing the 844, where they concentrate too much on just an exam. But that's not to mean that the team that is in Form 3 and Form 4 currently has been left out. We're also working to ensure that we take care of them so that we leave no child behind. So it is a system that we encourage us as stakeholders here to participate. Where you find that there's something that needs to be changed, we'll do that. We are doing now competency-based center of excellence in all our 47 counties, so that schools can have a place to go to, the student can go up to have a place to go to be trained, the teachers have a training, the master is doing training for them, TSC is doing. So we are doing something in this space. What we are asking ourselves as stakeholders in education is that let us pull our intellectual resources together, because in that pool, we'll get the resolutions. That's why we've been able to amend the subjects. That's why in the first National Education Fora, when we were discussing about whether we should have mathematics as a compulsory subject in just STEM and nothing in social sciences and arts, we agreed in that particular forum that we'll have pure maths in STEM and we'll have essential maths in social science and also in arts. That is something that came out of that discussion of that forum. So we need to just put our heads together, and I am sure that by the end of this exercise, we'll be much better country than when we started. Thank you. The schools that are insisting, for example, for students to pay for trips. A school has 2,000 students. Say each student is paying 15,000 for trips. Does every student in every term go for a trip? Tell me. 2,000 students are going for a trip per term. So let us be realistic about these things, and everybody who is appointed to the BOMs, and we've worked with the members of parliament, they've agreed to support us, so that there is nowhere to run. Once we get you, you can't go to your member of parliament, you can't go to your heads of tribes or whatever to say, you know, we are being targeted. It's not going to happen. So we are going to deal with you because the regulations are there, and we want the media, before you say this money is not enough, please visit and ask them, let us see the list of what is being supported, so that you help us, because we are all stakeholders. His Excellency has indicated we have 11 million students. If we have 2 parents, that is another 22 million people, plus 11. Each and every household is affected, including those people who are saying we do not have enough money to support the students. So help, and that's why we are working here together, so that we can put our heads together, analyze the situation, and be realistic about what needs to happen. This country has invested heavily in education. The international standard in investment of education is 20% of the budget. This country invests 28% of the budget in education. We are already above international standard by 8%, and we are continuing to increase that. The amount that is being paid for the capitation for primary school has moved from 1,020 in the year 2002 to 1,420 in the year 2018, to this July, when we'll be moving it to 2,300 per student. Junior school was introduced in this competency-based education, and we are giving them 14,240. Now, junior school is in the same place with primary school, meaning they share facilities. So in terms of the money that is used for primary school vis-a-vis the money that is being used by junior school with students in the same space. For example, if you're paying a watchman, you're not paying a watchman for junior school and paying another watchman for primary school. You are paying for one person. That means these resources are being utilized, and therefore, in reality, we have increased the amount for primary school substantively.
You have been talking about the school fees and no extra charges, but we have seen schools charging school fees. It remains pronouncements, and parents are still paying. So what is being done?
For example, in boarding schools, we charge the circular, the government-approved fee is 53,000. Now, 53,000 is for boarding facilities, food, and other things. Government is paying for infrastructure. Government is paying for the teachers. Government is paying for the books. Government is paying for all these other things. Now, what has happened is that there are people, scrupulous out there, who have introduced budgetary items into the budget of schools that are non-essential, thereby raising the cost of running those institutions. For example, the latest case that we are handling, where school fees was raised from the 53,000 that is allowed to 120,000. But when we looked through, our quality assurance officers did the report, they found several budget lines in the budget that are non-essential, that are not core to what a school should be doing. For instance, 26 million for going to Dubai. 26 million for going to Dubai. 13 million for speeches during prize giving. So 1.3 million for spiritual nourishment. Then you say government is not, the money is not enough. And you know, all I like us to do, because the argument has been that we are not able to implement the policies. That is because our quality assurance officers are not enough, we don't have enough, and by the time they reach, they find maybe something has been done and moved on. But now we are going to the BOMs, the Board of Management, and some of them are here, and we are saying you must interrogate the budget that you are passing. What does it include? Is that something that is essential to learning? So that you do not increase abnormally the cost of running institutions. So that argument of them is not enough is far-fetched because there are many other factors, and of course there are a lot of wastage and things like that. But we are saying now, we are acting. Action has been taken. I know TSC has taken proceedings. Yesterday, the County Education Board was meeting to deal with that case, and it is a warning to each and every school head here. If you are involved in undertaking, increasing the school fees, using those levies that are against the circulars that we've issued, you will face the consequences. There's no question about it. It might take a bit of time, but we are going to get you. You will face the consequences.
Your Excellency, allow me to begin by thanking you for finding time from your busy schedule to grace this momentous second National Education Conference. The objective of this conference is to review the progress made in our three state departments, that is competence-based education under basic education, competence-based education training under TVETs, and university education under higher education.
First and foremost, Your Excellency, let me thank you for being educationist number one. In what sense? That this conference is the second time we are doing it this time, because it is the time when we listen to the stakeholders and bring the society and the needs as per what they have brought before us. I have come before this conference to this morning, but more importantly, to know that National Education Conference is a conference accepted by our Constitution. This is a stakeholders meeting where we share ideas, where we sit together, talk to one another, and make education what we need. Education is the pulse of the society. So I've come with my colleague members of parliament. We'll be sitting here. We'll listen to you. We'll want to know how much costings you put into basic education, more so competency education in primary, all the way to the university. We'll want to know the various pathways and the various issues that you have in terms of human resource, because it is in the House that we have the national pass. So, Excellency, we are here to listen. We are here to also listen to them, the proposals on the legal issues, especially the legal proposals or amendments you'd want to have in the House to make education effective and to have the leadership of the sector well. So we'll sit through this meeting, and we'll do a lot of listening. And at the end of it, we'll be able also to respond to a number of issues.
Your Excellency, I want to take this early opportunity to thank you for the massive investment the government has put in education. We want to thank you very much for dedicating a lot of resources to ensure that education is on track. Indeed, in basic education, and I want to say competence-based education is the best education system ever this country has ever gotten. And we are confident with your leadership and the investment you are putting there, we are going to take education forward.